if you're joining us now live on YouTube or on LinkedIn, we've successfully managed to press the buttons in the right order this time. And if not, well, try and get in touch with us and we'll get you looped into the Zoom meetings. It's probably going to be easier than LinkedIn, which has a certain degree of reliability issues. Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2024. I can't believe it. We're into the I think it's the 27th month update that I've got to do this month as one of my priorities. So there's quite a lot going on. I can't believe we've got this far. Excuse me, looking distracted. As always, the browser crashed just as I was about to start the slides. So I'm just going to get the slides going while everyone joins the meeting. Get January up and share that. Okay. Let's see if this crashes. Moments of truth. Can you see that?
Yeah, we got the screens now. Yeah.
You got the slides. They're better than my ugly face. Right, cool. Let's hope it works. Cool. So how are we doing for time? If we have enough time for everyone to join, a few latecomers to come. Well, I'm going to assume they can catch up on the archives. Oh, let me just check this is recording to the cloud. Record to the cloud. Okay, you'll have to probably give consent to everyone on the Zoom call. Right, let's go. So monthly members meeting. Have I changed it? Wednesday the 10th of January. I haven't changed that one, but we'll catch up. So as always, we're going to run through what's been going on in the back office and then one by one go through each of the working groups, and if there's updates from the lesser core projects, go through those too. So main updates is obviously, yes, that's right. Main updates, obviously December was disrupted by holidays and leave and so on. So there was a good couple of weeks of scant working group meetings and so on, as to be expected, and everyone hopefully had a good rest. We carried on chasing the grant application, which we put in at the end of November. I'm just going to skip forward a slide just to give you an update on that. Dozens of calls, dozens of emails, very unresponsive group at Innovate UK, to be quite open and honest. But we eventually got clarity that what had happened, we had put in our grant application. We had gone back and reopened the grant application, which technically unsubmits it. Historically, that hadn't been the case, but now that is the case. So that unsubmitted it. We changed the title from REMS to Remote Energy Management Survey, and then resubmitted it, but had a second browser window open apparently. So culpa mea from the grant writer, but she's nobody said that she's not going to charge us until we get a submitted grant. Good news is that most of the work that we did can be contributed towards another grant, which is a UK-wide grant with the same team, scaling up slightly, but there's some good news to follow in a second, which means we can probably do that now. So we've got that grant application coming together, and there'll be quite a bit of work over next week in fits and starts, but because we've got most of the work done for the previous grant application, there's no one seems to be breaking sweat yet, so we should be able to get that in next week. Also, on the subject of grants, I've been starting to talk to members. Some of our larger members in particular have foundations, have grant schemes internally, and there are other industry bodies. I've reached out to IBC to explore the Accelerator Awards as well. I think it's all bets are on to try to find routes to get some substantial support to buy more of the, well, 99% certainly now, more of the TP-Link devices to scale out the survey. So grants progressing, but work is progressing in the background. And just to sort of steal a little thunder from what I think Ben will update us in when we get to Working Group 8, we've had some great success and progression with TP-Link. Albeit slow, it's having to go through English to Chinese translation and so on. They are actually supporting the project now, and they've given us some critical access to the API and so on. We'll talk a bit more about that when we get to Working Group 8, but there's great progress there in the fundamentals of being able to build our measurement platform. We've lined up to that extent. Probably the most interesting activity over the next few weeks is that we've lined up a hackathon next Thursday. Anyone who's got a TP-Link P110 and wants to get involved in what Working Group 8 is, who's a member, then please reach out to me and Ben. There's probably just about enough time to get you hooked into that. And again, we'll go into more detail when we talk about Working Group 8. Ben spoke to the EBU. Ben, do you want to chip in a little bit about that now?
Oh yeah, that was already covered on the previous one. Your
Has that carried over from the?
yeah, that
was
was
that? I lost track of time.
It was November.
Right, I'm sorry, I've lost track of time.
Yeah.
It's already been a busy
We've
month.
had holidays since then.
Yeah, I can't believe we've been back only a few days. Right. Yeah, there's various bits of press and media going out and so on. You should be finding those surfacing on the LinkedIn greening and streaming feed in particular. Pipeline's looking quite hot. There's certainly a couple of very interesting parties just around the corner, but as with all things, I don't count them until they're actually in the bag. Lesser called project 1 is a little bit underway, and I'm sure Simon will fill us in on that. But there's certainly been some movement in terms of recruiting people to get involved in that project. And I've got a meeting tomorrow with Scottish Enterprise about or at least people circulating around that community to see if we might find some footing to do some sort of pilot for the distributed services across wind turbines projects, but more on that after the meeting really tomorrow. Spoken about grant, financials are okay. There's still 40k outstanding in overdue invoices, so please check to see if you've got an overdue invoice. Thanks to those of you that have paid. I covered this last month, but we had low attendance last month, so I'm going to repeat this. Lumen and iSize both have disappeared through acquisition, and that's had some impact in what we're doing. So if you look at the blue line, it gets quite close at the moment, and I do want to shift that up by adding a few new members as soon as possible. So any recruitment welcome over this quarter. It's definitely where my head's going to be at over the next month or two as we build up to an AP. But we're okay. Everything's budgeted for. Everything that we want to do at the moment. There's no panic. Hopefully, calendaring's sorting itself out slowly. I realised that no one was invited to today's meeting, so I did add members at Greening and Streaming to the invite for today. I won't generally do that for working groups now. We're getting into the process of just adding the working group members. So the email membership of working group is becoming more important. And if that's confusing to you, reach out to me and we'll try and organise a session to get everybody in sync and make sure they're connected to the right things. Ben, you came off.
It might be worth, Dom, just at a very high level, say, how is it supposed to work as of now, 10th of January 2024? I'm a working group lead. What am I supposed to do to set up my meetings now?
So for now, if you're setting up a working group 8 meeting, all you need to do is add as an invitee working group 8 at greeningandstreaming.org. In the back end, we use a service called Gaggle, which runs our primary members at greeningandstreaming.org notification group, which you should all be members of. And then in there are subgroups. Once you're part of members at greeningandstreaming.org, there are subgroups for each of the working groups and various other things like voting groups and things like that. You should have been invited to join them already by me, so check through your emails. If not, probably the best thing to do is either reach out to me directly if you don't think you're getting emails to your working group, or reach out to the working group lead, and I'll make sure that the working group leads can either administrate or at least relay to me what needs to be done. It is going to be a bit of an overhead, but I think that's going to be the cleanest way to do it. So if you do that as a working group lead, you invite working group 6 or 8 or whatever it is at greeningandstreaming.org to your calendar invite. Everybody on that mailing list should get that invite. If they accept, they'll appear in your in the organizer's email as having accepted as well. If they just ignore it or decline, they'll show up as well. So if they ignore it, nothing will happen.
That's kind of really simple to understand. Those are lists, and so inviting the list, you invite all the people in the list. What about the greening of streaming's own
diary?
The thing of subscribing
right, so the
to the
diary,
calendar, because that kind of doubles up, isn't it? One or the other, or should we do both?
Yes. So if you also include greeningofstreaming@gmail.com as the other attendee when you set up a meeting. That will go into the public, well, the members only public diary. So you'll be able to see the meetings in the public diary on the hub and in the subscribed diary automatically for all the meetings. And that calendar is greeningofstreaming@gmail.com. At the moment, if you add that as well to your invite, then you'll be putting it in the diary. I'm trying to get that to be a little bit prettier so that it's something either diary@greeningofstreaming.org or it's automatic, because greeningofstreaming@gmail is a member of all the working groups. However, it's at the moment the automation process doesn't like that, because greeningofstreaming@gmail.com appears as the invitor to the automation service, and it doesn't therefore add it to the diary. So you have to separate that out. It's just getting a confusion in the
Okay,
automation.
so
I think that's too much detail for the monthly members meeting.
so just there's two kinds of people at the meeting here. Working group leads, you've answered that, how we're supposed to do it. Then as a general attendee, I'll get emails to the working groups
As a general attendee,
and I should also subscribe to the calendar.
You should just get calendar invites. You should specifically get calendar invites to working groups you are subscribed to.
Okay,
if you separately,
so the advice
automatically
now is not to subscribe to the calendar.
Wait, no, don't confuse things. There's two things going on. You will get invites like a normal, like if I invited you directly to join me on a call, you will get invites if you are in a working group. You won't get those invites if you are not in the working group. However, if you are if you are subscribed to the Greening of Streaming calendar, you can create a secondary calendar in your own diary, which will show you all the meetings happening. And you can superimpose that in your diary, but that runs separately to your own diary. Most calendaring apps will let you do that. So if you go to the hub and hit subscribe, you can then get all the meetings as they're entered into the public diary, and you'll be able to see those even if they coincide with your own meetings, but they won't interfere with your own diary. So it's a different way of getting all the events. And obviously the third way of doing it is just to go to the hub regularly and check for the diary. And then on Mondays, although as Stan's pointed out, there's a time zone question. It's a labeling issue rather than a numbering issue, but there is still an issue with the Monday agenda. In that, I think Stan reports it says Europe/London. It's actually London time. The meetings that are coming through on those.
Perfect. Thanks.
I'm sorry. It is absolutely central to everyone's communication, and hopefully we're finding our feet now with it. And I'm sorry for all the misfires and test emails and things which have caused noise. But as it quietens down, hopefully you should just get the invitations to the working groups that you want to, but get awareness of other things going on through the shared diaries and so on. Okay, cool. I think that was possibly worth labouring. Actually, it had got as far as having a slide. Just to emphasise that on the slide, there is the subscribe link if you go to the hub, and you can also subscribe on the Monday emails. Okay, don't forget the app. The app is still a good, fast, responsive place to share dialogue and work sort of commentary on things. It's still getting good use, certainly in some working groups. Barbara, we usually get you to talk a little bit about the member videos here. They're going quite well.
Yeah, sure.
The cues correct or being carried forward.
Yeah, no worries. We did a flurry of them before the end of the year. I think the next one you have lined up will be Humans Not Robots, I think. You just posted Broad Peak, right?
22nd.
And so we're marching our way through these videos, and I'm about to send out another request, but if anybody on the call would like to sit for a short interview. It's a great way to profile your organization and support of greening of streaming, but also it's an opportunity if you have any issues that you'd like to relay to me. Those, of course, won't be made public, but that's also a nice way to just gauge that everybody's feeling good about the organization and the direction and taking suggestions and that sort of thing. So please reach out to me and we'll schedule a few more.
Perfect. They're really good. So they get quite good traction as well, especially if you pick yours up and reshare it and do all the tagging and stuff on LinkedIn. So thanks, Rick. Thanks for that, Barbara. Always great. Let's skip through the working groups. Felipe, do you want to talk about working group 1? How you doing?
Very good. Thank you. Happy New Year to everybody. Very quickly, we finalized the taxonomy for sleep, standby, power off for the server part, and we started on December to
Oh, we've lost
one.
signal. Here we go. Oh, sorry, we lost you for just a second there, Felipe. Do you want to just repeat the last sentence? Oh,
Can you hear me?
this is where I was just about to think when you saved everyone.
Sorry, did you lost everything?
We lost you for a second, and I was just about to fill in by singing, but you came back and saved everyone. So
okay, no, okay. It was a sign. We are working on next Friday on the on this device part, and we will update you on the next meeting. I think this work will go faster than previous because all is prepared. So my aim is to finish in one month also the device part for the lexicon and to start something else. Thank you.
Cool, that's great. So I don't know if you missed that, there is a doc evolving, and we're just about to sort of close that off, and that'll be available for sharing.
Just to give my little two cents on that, I thought, oh my God, not another set of definitions of on and off. I've kind of been in the industry so long, so I kind of opened the doc with dread and thought, but it's actually pretty incredibly interesting. It goes really, really deep and poses some questions that I'm sure you haven't thought about with simple things. What does it actually mean to turn something on, turn it off? What does standby actually mean?
Absolutely.
And there are so many different things. I was pretty amazed. It's amazing work. And there's got to be a whole other chapter coming for devices, because on the device side, standby means something completely different. But I strongly recommend you read it. I promise you'll learn something.
Thank you, Ben. A beer offered the next event.
Cool. And also, just actually, while we do this, Felipe, I need to get in touch with you because I'm writing a series for digital TV every other month at the moment, and they're getting quite good uptake. I've done 2 about sort of background of greening of streaming, and following the pattern of the monthly members meetings. As of next month, I'm hoping to catch up with Felipe and start just sitting down with each working group lead and really going into some depth in an article about each working group and what we're trying to achieve and what the challenges are. So some of the stuff that we've been doing in working group 1, I think is great to see that, and I'll be in touch with you a little bit later in the month.
Thank you.
Cool. Great, Felipe, thanks. Right, let me see if I can get my iPad to do its thing. Oh, let me jump to there. So working group 2, that's on my remit at the moment. We're reasonably quiet in terms of trying to organise our own event in a real world sense. We're going to support MTSS and Barbara, and I'm sure we're going to catch up a little bit about that over the next week and really get to grips with what the plan is as they go public. Do you want to add anything about MTSS, Barbara, at this point?
We are going to be actually tomorrow having a brief announcement. It's a webinar which we will record and we'll post it, but basically to talk about all of our very exciting activities, including our annual second annual event, which we are planning for June, and that's where I think we can do a lot of collaborating, as well as at the various other activities that we're doing. So Tomorrow's a big day.
Cool, cool. Unfortunately, I'm double booked for that webinar, but I'll catch up on the archives. So, yeah, no. So that's our sort of focus for real world at the moment. It looks increasingly likely that for ideas reasons, I will be making it to NAB this year. So I'll talk to everyone about what we might want to do in terms of some meetings or representation or whatever as I get over there. In the meanwhile, we've been continuing with our online series, and yesterday we had the second sustainability expert series that we've supported, but the first one we've run through the Greening of Streaming platform, the Wix platform and the events platform. And it actually went quite smoothly. It was quite well attended, probably about 50% registration to turn up rate, which was good, maybe a little bit more. And most people stayed for the full 2-hour session, which is quite significant interest, I think. Really meaty sessions about media policy, about CSRD. If you want to know about governance around sustainability in the media space, it's a really good primer. There's an hour of quite interesting presentations talking about directives and how they work through the European sort of regulatory process and what that means to companies operating in those spaces, how the reporting standards are emerging, and how people are in practice responding to that. So really quite a full-on hour, followed by an hour of led discussion, which Ben, as always, expertly led. Ben, anything you want to add to the SES coverage?
No, just that I finally managed to download the video, so I will be able to edit it, and everybody who wasn't able to attend can catch up on VOD. We'll put it on a YouTube channel or something. Probably it'll be up in about a week, I imagine.
Nice, good, great stuff. Cool. So let's press on to working group 3. Barbara.
Yeah, so not much going on here. This has been on my agenda for a number of months now. I realized, having reviewed the slides, talking about the regulations, and I was very keen to attend, and I did part of it yesterday's session because I think that's a topic that I think we ought to bring over to Greening of Streaming to help the industry get ready for what people have to begin reporting on starting in 2025 with 2024 data. So I think that's something that we need to engage with our audience around. Otherwise, there was a whole trademark item that, Dom, I guess you're going to cover off here next. And yeah, that's all I have to report at the moment. You're muted, Dom.
Thank you. Sorry, amateur mistake. Yeah, there were, for those that turned up in December, you might have been aware there was we've been protecting Greening and Streaming and the logo as a trademark. As part of that process, there was a technicality raised about its applicability to one of the classes. It did include digital publishing, as you can see sort of in the text there on the screen. It was an area that the legal team wanted to bring back to us to see if we wanted to appeal it. We decided to go ahead with that. It is the one piece of IPR we protect, and we looked at the budgets, and it was viable to go ahead this time. I think after a certain point, we have to be sensitive to how much money we're prepared to really chase at these legal protections. It's not really the aim of our members' fees to go protecting brands and so on. But I think, given this was just a first response and it was budgetable, we decided to go ahead with this one. So we'll update you, but we should have that. We should get updates on that over the next month. Okay, let's go on to working group 4. Julien.
Yeah, hello. So for work group 4, we had our work group meeting, monthly meeting last Monday, and during the meeting, Mike Matera from Akamai presented the progresses they have done during the past months to collect the energy data on their infrastructure, and so they are definitely ready to share some energy data, but we need an official agreement of the Akamai clients, so the greening of streaming members. We need this agreement if we want to use that data in greening or streaming. So the priority is to ask Dazen for their agreement. So Dom, you propose to do that.
Email's been sent. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And for the agreement of UBU members, we discussed that with Emini from UBU, and we think that we should have an open conversation with UBU members and propose them to get the energy data of a particular event. This should be very much more effective than asking agreement by emails. So we'll do that perhaps this month, I think. And last point, Mike from Akamai will send a sample of the data we could get from them. So we will see how does it look, and we will see how we can transform this data to be ingested in the human robots interface. So I hope to receive this soon, and we'll see that. That's all for me.
Cool, perfect. Thanks, Julien. Let's go on to working group 5. Right. So working group 5 and actually working group 9, I've asked Anthony and Mark to hold back from updating the slides at the moment. And basically, working group 5's lost some momentum after the historic working group lead changed and some health challenges there. So we're just going to leave working group 5 in dormancy, until we have some working group 8 measurement up and running, and then review the situation there. Working group 6, Sam.
Yeah, hi everyone. Happy New Year. So this is the same slide as last month, I'm afraid. There was one more meeting of the group at the end of last year, which I think was just Simon and myself. So it sort of remains the case here that we need a bit more sort of input, I think, to continue developing the measurement framework for different encoding, transcoding setups. Just trying to come up with the outline of how we recommend that measurement happens, which was laid out as the first step. There is a draft, so once again, welcome input from anyone who wants to take a look at that and see if you can get involved. General plan next is I will put another meeting on the calendar shortly and do a bit more of an outreach to try and get people onto those next discussions and see if we can get some momentum going. Yes, I think that's about it.
Just to highlight, I shared on working group 6 on the hub an IEEE paper which was sent into circulation in the last week or two, and sort of came to my attention, which I haven't had a chance to digest it properly yet, but it seems to start looking at comparative models for encoding energy efficiency and so on. So I think it's highly pertinent for the working group 6 people to start having a look at.
Yeah, I sent you I'll put a comment on your post earlier, Dom. Yeah, it looks I think it sounds like the results are rather to be expected. It's talking about sort of slower presets using more energy, which I think, but I think if we can see the actual paper, there might be some useful stuff to contribute to these measurement approaches and so on.
Yeah, it'd be good to get working group 6 pumping now, because really it sits at the origin of things, and it would be I think it's an important area for this group to be getting to grips with. So all hands to working group 6 if you can, please, folks.
Yes, please.
Cool, thanks, Sam. Christoph.
Yes.
Yeah, you're here. It's unusual.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Yeah.
Hello. Okay, so the status of working group 7. So it's basically a list of items of to-dos that we have in our backlog. So the first one is about the getting feedback from the on the white paper that we wrote on the energy metrics within open caching. So we're getting feedback from SVTA. So there's also, we had an initial discussion with Ariane on the breadcrumbs project, and we said that it would be good to have create a shared document where we list the requirements on what to measure and how and what not to measure, and what are the requirements on how to exchange energy data. So this is something that we need still to start. We just said that we need to do it. We didn't do it yet. And the last thing that we discussed, last meeting, is that for this year, 2024, would be good to prepare like a reach out letter that we can send to different standardization organizations, and to ask basically what is their plan, their actions and strategy in this field, and then see what the feedback is and what we can maybe initiate together with them. And so we hope to progress on all those items. So next meeting in next week. You're muted.
Ben, you came off mute. Did you have something to add?
No, I was just getting ready for.
All right, cool. Jumping the gun with your mic. Cool. Thanks, Christoph. Brilliant. Excellent. All right, Ben, you'll go.
So,
You've got a build.
why is there nothing left on my slide?
All right. You have a build in your slide.
I don't know how that happened. That was a mistake. So we've had 2 meetings since the last one. The previous one was just Simon and I, because it was just before Christmas, and we had a nice meeting in his living room, followed by a nice beer in Wivenhoe. It so happens that Simon lives by the Birds Fly, like 2 miles from where my mother lives. It actually takes 25 minutes to get there because there's a river between us. So it was a strange coincidence. But anyway, that has nothing to do with Working Group 8. What I wanted to say is that the corpus of documents that we've been complaining about not having, and nobody was helping, and it's finally there. We have an amazing corpus now. We haven't actually done that much with it, apart from what you can find that was published an hour ago on the Flint. I did some analysis using ChatGPT of the corpus. But the next stage is to actually try and either by hand or with a ChatGPT or some other tool to extract, what is the consensus on various measurements in our world. Otherwise, as you heard before, of course, we're really excited that the January the 8th event is happening. It's no longer as it was originally planned on site in the DTG Zoo. We hope to do that later on.
18th, you said 8th.
Sorry, 18th, 1/8, yeah, 18th. So we have 6 European testers and 2 US-based testers already lined up. There's room for more. You do have to make your mind up like today or tomorrow, because you need to order this TP-Link 110 device. It costs €15 for one device in Europe. And it's probably better to order 2 devices. They sell packs for like €25 or something. As Dom said, most of the blocking issues we had with TP-Link have been fixed, and they have not been fixed on their own. It's actually been a lot of hard work by Dom. So thank you, Dom, for carrying that. I mean, I was ready to jump in, but you just did it all. You just got everything fixed. So
that was good fun. That was quite fun.
In 2 words, basically what we have is we have this greening of streaming account on the TP-Link cloud, and we've been able to add devices to it. We believe we're going to be able to go up to at least 200 or probably 300 in the current version, and maybe go further. And so all these devices, we can actually get real-time energy measurements. So the campaign we're doing on the 18th is going to be over Zoom. All together, we'll be doing some stuff. So reading stuff mainly on TVs. Those are the only devices that most people have easy access to. Call out if anybody has access and can be there on the 18th to handheld devices where you can remove the battery and they still work. That would be fantastic. There aren't that many of them, but if you have one, if you have an old...
You should specify remove the battery while plugged into the mains and still work.
Yeah, of course.
That's allowed.
While plugged into the mains, because then we can put an energy meter between the mains and the device. Obviously, there's much more sophisticated ways of managing device energy, but that's a really simple way that we could get stuff done on the 18th. So we're really excited. Do join us if you can. Reach out to me or to Dom, and we'll set you up, give you the right device you need to buy. It'll happen at 9:30 a.m. UK time, 10:30 a.m. CET, Thursday next week. There'll be 1 2-hour session in the morning, and then we'll have a backup session in the afternoon, mainly for the US people, but also to catch up. And if we weren't able to do everything in the first hour, so we're going to measure a whole bunch of stuff. So run a whole load of videos off a USB stick, because we know that will always work for everybody. And it's and then we hope to do some streaming too. We're a little bit less sure about who's going to be the player, because it's going to depend on devices. There's a lot more uncertainty there. But we're really excited. The next meeting, our meeting as the previous working group, is also on January the 16th. It's at 5 p.m. European time or 4 p.m. UK time. What else? That's basically all that's happened, really. We've been totally focused on the January 18th. So I hope Working Group 8 will start maybe doing other things than after the 18th. But that's
there's just a couple of other bits of the plumbing which I think will be interesting to the group, which are worth highlighting. Although they're not on the call today, shout out to the Humans Not Robots team. I've connected with them, and they're putting the time and effort in over this week to try to move my hacky handwritten API queries, which proved the case, into something of a production ready Lambda script, which can then populate their database from via the TP-Link cloud from all the devices. So we're getting into quite a good place to actually be able to automate the data gathering and create some sort of infographic graphing, some representation of it that we can use for shared commentary and so on. The other thing that's worth shouting out, which I'm sure Simon will talk a little bit more about, is Simon's been doing a lot of work in sort of preparing some source files and some content for testing and thinking about the streaming and how that might all join together. Which probably, actually, given we're going to not talk about Working Group 9, which is dormant as well, probably segues quite nicely to Simon in the Project 1.
Okay, thanks, Dom. Just catching up on that last piece. I have some streams and short clips for various testing, static images and video. They're on a Google Drive, so if anyone would like access to them to download and put in their USB stick, drop me an email and I'll share that Google Drive with you. That's probably the easiest way of getting that information out. Okay, on Project 1.
It would be just worth stating that people should send an email that corresponds to a Google account.
Not necessarily, but it's more secure if they do. I think Google will validate a Gmail account, but it will still allow you to share to a non-Gmail account, I think. Anyway, on Project 1, what we did at the back end of last year, what I did at the back end of last year was to sort of documents and questions I'd like to send to network operators. I sent that out to BT and Tim. I need to follow up with Tim. For BT, it disappeared into their email filters and never actually got through, but I followed up individually this week with the people and starting to get some useful confirmation of information that we really suspected, but it's great to get a confirmation from a network operator that they're really seeing minimal energy variation in their networks due to traffic, but they're actually now splitting it down to say there's no variation at the optical level, but some minor variation at the switching level, which is interesting. Made some comments that CDM power consumption, although historically it was traffic independent, they're now beginning to see some variation there. So that's a conversation to progress with them. We had a good conversation with Nokia. They emphasized the value of multicast for their fixed network. They have a product in that area, so the two might be connected. They highlighted something that I'd overlooked, that in mobile devices, if using TCP, it's doing a lot of upstream communications to acknowledge the traffic, and therefore it's expending power on doing that. So I think we now need to split unicast between TCP and things like QUIC, where it's sort of unicast but over UDP, where you need a a lower rate of acknowledgement. So that's sort of spin off another bit. Xavier introduced us in Debrig. Their chief architect is very interested, but he was only back in the office today. So I will let him settle down, get through his email before I send out some more information to him early next week. So that's really the update. I think the action on me is to start to draft a paper that then I can review. BT are quite interested in what we're doing, and I think if I can actually produce a paper that summarizes the outcome of the questions, that would be the next step. So that's where we're going. So getting underway.
Awesome, Simon. Thank you for your leadership there as well. It's great. I need to catch up with you. Hopefully you saw the message about the Mist server as an intermediary.
Yes, I think there's a number of options for Working Group 8 about getting the live streaming up. Yeah.
Cool. I've been looking at the client end as well, so we need to collude. Good. Where are we? Sam, do you want to add anything on Let's Call Project 2? I always check in here. I think that's sort of in the. I think he also went mobile, so I'm going to assume not for that. Arian is not on the call. I'll give him a chase. So I'm not sure that there's any updates on Project 3. Project 4 has got, as I mentioned earlier, has got a bit of an update. Serendipity has and a series of mad and random conversations, including my moonshot PowerPoint, which I shared some time ago, has generated some interesting discussions, and there seems to be some potential interest in exploring a pilot for the idea of distributed encoding using wasted renewable energy in turbines. So more on that as it emerges, and as I mentioned, the sort of next step meeting is tomorrow. So yeah, won't preempt anything, but certainly there is some discussion progressing that project. Okay, folks, any other business? But we haven't got, I don't think Christian has turned up this week for the green stream. The only, I forget the dates are all wrong. But what I would invite is if Ben, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about your ChatGPT and the article you just put out. I'm pretty sure you can usually muster something off the cuff. And since we're all here, we would normally at this point do the green stream session.
So I invite you.
Quite interesting to raise that.
So what I did in December is, as I got hold of the corpus, most of it came from you, Dom, but I got quite a few documents from various people in the organization. I thought, oh my God, how am I going to sort this? How am I going to work out what to do with this? And then ChatGPT 4 just introduced this new thing where you can upload documents. So I said, oh, wonderful. Let me see if I can use ChatGPT. So I did something very, very simple. I wrote an article about it, which, as I said, was published about an hour ago. Unfortunately, Neil got the wrong version. So wait another hour or two because there's some updates to go, but you can still, the gist of it's there. It's a simple idea, is to say, ask ChatGPT 3.5, which kind of takes its data back in 2022. I think it's March 2022, the most recent data in ChatGPT 3.5, and ask a simple question, say, what are the 5 most important things we could do to reduce the carbon intensity of streaming? And it comes up with 5 ideas. And then I said, okay, let me see. I was very disappointed that it had nothing about devices because I run the Working Group 8, so I'm more focused about devices. And then I asked ChatGPT 4 the same question with no priming, a really simple question, not a very good question, as I can tell you in a second. As I told you, the question is, what are the 5 most important things we could do to reduce the carbon impact of streaming? And I spoke to a lot of GPT experts since then. They said, but Ben, that's a really bad question. That's not how you use ChatGPT. So what I will do in an up thing is you actually have to give it a lot more context and say, okay, please tell me 15 ways of reducing streaming's carbon intensity. And I want you to use these criteria to do the ranking. And if you do that, so your prompt becomes a whole paragraph by the time you've finished, and then you can get more interesting stuff, but we'll get there later. So what I did do with my initial simple prompts is I realized that some concepts like devices were not really much on the radar. But then when you ask ChatGPT-4, without uploading any data, just as it is out of the box, it comes up with almost the same information, but it adds devices, has the different priorities and stuff. And then what I did is I took a personal GPT. You can now create your own GPTs, and I started uploading data from the corpus. So if you have a look at the article, you'll see how different concepts gradually start appearing as it gets more and more expert with the real latest studies that have been coming out over the last 6 to 12 months. And so I kind of mapped that, and it gives us so the analysis, can AI help us? I haven't progressed to an answer to that. Will AI be a tool for us, Greening of Streaming, to help us find the best ways of? I mean, we obviously know that today AI is heavily used by encoder makers to do the fine tuning, because it gets so complicated that AI helps them. But for us at Greening of Streaming, for our mindset, how we think about the problem, so it's a first stab, and it's kind of showing that, yeah, there are going to be ways where using ChatGPT to help us sift through all this data is going to be helpful. And I hope the article will have some positive feedback, and people might find it as interesting starting point. As I say, it's on the Flint. It's on LinkedIn now too. So just look.
Do you want to share a link in chat if you've got it to hand?
Yeah. I can do that.
It was a very interesting afternoon when Ben rang me up and said he'd been doing that. I've always been a little bit cynical about AI, and I felt, oh, finally somebody's found a really useful use for it. So, it's a story worth reading, I think.
Okay, the link's in the chat, but as I say, if you want to give it an hour or two, then he'll upload the latest. There's only some minor changes. It's basically all there, but I had some really constructive, useful feedback, so it's slightly less naive, the version that's going to be uploaded in an hour or so.
Great, cool. Listen, folks, I think we should draw it to a close there. Give everyone 10 minutes back to get a cup of tea or get a coffee or whatever time of day it is for you, or a beer, maybe. Thanks very much. We'll see you at working group meetings or on February the 14th. I think Valentine's Day for the next one. Bring some roses.
You have to bring roses to the next meeting. Compulsory.
Great stuff, folks.
Thanks.
Hey, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.